Hello. Yesterday we had 10 games, and those were pretty exciting. Few of those went to overtime, few went to shutout, and it was also quite good for our simulations and predictions. But Tommy, which games you would highlight from the last night slate?
It was a good show of our simulation proficiency. We did pretty well with those games. Of course, a couple of missed picks, but that's something that happens in the long run. So just trust the system. If we want to highlight a couple of these, let's take a look at for example, Carolina at Detroit. We were predicting Carolina to do pretty well this season and Detroit not so well. This was quite an obvious one, but still 3-0 for Carolina. We predicted them to win with a 71% probability, and the odds makers had them at 64%. So nice value there, very easy pick, but still these are good to get home time and again. Then continuing to Nashville, where Finnish goaltenders faced off Joonas Korpisalo and Juuse Saros for Nashville. So Nashville played Columbus. We had Nashville a very small favorites, but still favored against the odds. So 54% for Nashville. The odds were at 53. So small value, but again, the system was correct. Nashville won that game 3-1. Then the highlight of the night, for me at least, was at Winnipeg, where the Canadiens, Calgary Flames, and Winnipeg Jets faced off in a game that was, as we expected, a lot of scoring. We predicted both teams to score 3 goals, which they did, and then in the end, Winnipeg took the overtime win with a second goal of the night for Patrik Laine, who we highlighted also that he's putting up his trade value or maybe playing for his place in the team. It remains to be seen what the Jets are going to do with it. But a nice win overtime, very feisty game, a little bit of fighting and all that. So exciting to see these teams face off for 8 times this season. And also that was a good pick from us, the over that we were highlighting yesterday's video as well. And last but not least, let's take a gander at Edmonton Oilers, where Connor McDavid found his stride and scored a couple of goals. Leon Draisaitl assisted 4. So if these guys manage to keep this up, Edmonton Oilers are gonna be a tough team to beat in the Northern Division. Of course, they lost the first game to Vancouver, so a nice rematch and revenge there. We had also Edmonton winning 62% of those in those simulations, and the odds makers had it at 53%. So clear value there for the Oilers. There were a couple of other ones that we highlighted. Los Angeles was hosting Minnesota. We had that for Minnesota 60%, the odds makers around 52 only. So we got that correct as well in Los Angeles. So Wild took the important win to start the season. How about tonight? Our last night's picks were not exactly on target, but that's happened sometimes. What do you see there?
Yeah, so these 2 picks that we made yesterday were both wrong. Our surprise team Rangers surprised us and didn't perform basically at all. They lost 4-0 against Islanders, and most of the time looked like a team that wasn't ready for the season opener. And then Anaheim visited Vegas. Game started, I think it was maybe 15 minutes played, and there was 4 goals made already. So that time it started to look very bad, these under 6 goals. But finally it was the empty netter. Then a few seconds before the end of the game that finally destroyed this bet when they scored the 7th goal. But there again, one of our favorites, Vegas Golden Knights, showed quite performance, and they had a handful of clear chances to make a few more goals against Anaheim. So daily result not so good. overall season result for the picks require a bit improvements, but like you said, system looks pretty solid. So out of the all the games that we have predicted here, I think the overall numbers look so that we have 9 correct side values, 6 wrong. That makes $77 profit, and for the money line, overall season numbers are 10 correct, 5 incorrect, and that means 197 profit. Total bets, there has been 12 that have had some difference between our simulation and bookmakers. Result has been 6-6, so 6 correct, 6 wrong, and end result $60 loss. So how do you see this total betting? Is that something that would improve in long run, or are the bookmakers catching up that amount of goals that have been made? I think there was 5 games or even 6 games that scored 7 goals, and then Washington Buffalo was 10 goals, so quite a few goals in these recent games.
Yeah, the odds makers are really fast to react to these high-scoring games. So already we see the lines going higher. Also, the odds for betting under are getting a high, very high compared to trying to get the overs right. So I would keep an eye out on the lines. Actually, that we try to find always the 50-50 line in our simulation, so we can determine is it going over or under that. But sometimes the odds and the juice offered by the odds makers is quite bad in these over under bets. So something to keep an eye out. Of course, it's early in the season, so things can happen. We can try to look for the trends of those teams that are not scoring that much. Maybe we have the Bostons, New Jersey, that are not that high octane teams, New York Islanders as well, probably. So there might be quite a big difference in teams, games, that how many goals are scored.
Yeah, I think it would be good to review the line and the odds as well, because sometimes, like you said, the juice is reduced in some cases, and 6 or even 6.5, it may look like high number, but if the under has poor odds, then it doesn't make too much sense to bet.
Exactly.
How about tonight's game? There's 5 games tonight, and we can take a look of few of them. There are a few picks, but how about which teams you think would bounce back from the medical performance, or are the teams that have been starting well continuing well tonight as well?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the teams face off in such short notice after the first match. For example, of course, we're expecting a lot more from Colorado Avalanche facing off against St. Louis Blue again. They did lose 1-4 in the first game, so a lot more goals expected from Colorado. We can take a look also. There is a Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the Battle of Pennsylvania. Philly won the first one quite easily, so Pittsburgh is looking for a bounce back there. We're not really putting our trust in Penguins anymore. Of course, then Washington Buffalo lost last night 6-4, so it's a back-to-back for Washington, a lot stronger team, so probably gonna be a strong one in the second one as well. But then we have also the first game of the season for Ottawa Senators. They are hosting Toronto, and Toronto already beat Montreal in the first round. So this is something that I think we can pick as our favorites for the night. Toronto in their second game of the season versus Ottawa, a lot weaker team in their first one. How do you see this game? Is this something worth a value for us?
Yeah, I think here are our picks. Like you said, Toronto would be the one, even though the performance wasn't great against Montreal, but maybe they get rid of all the rust from the summer and are now ready, while Ottawa is playing the opening night, their home arena. And other game, we trust in Colorado because they also looked a bit slow compared to their usual style of playing in the first game against St. Louis at home 2 days ago, and I'm pretty sure that they are preparing for revenge against Blues and would be ready now this time to improve pace and also score a few more goals instead of only one, like it happened 2 days ago. But some of these teams, for example, like you said, Washington, Buffalo, even though Washington was pretty dominant, or maybe it was easy win for them in the first matchup, their back-to-back record at away is not very good, and maybe that's another good reason that we stay away from that game. And then Tampa is hosting Chicago, one of the best teams against not so great team. But how about odds for that one? Is there any value to bet Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa Bay is of course one of the easy picks, if I may say so. So it would be always quite easy to select Tampa. I remember that we've had very good success with picking Tampa Bay. We have them 74% favorites compared to the odds that are around 66%. So definite value there. But the odds are quite lousy. It's at minus 218 at the time. So there is value, but it's a lower end of the odds. So not our kind of pick usually. So let's go with the Colorado and Toronto. For Colorado also, I think they've been watching a lot of tape after that last loss, so they know a little bit better how to avoid the trap that the Blues is building in their own zone. So Colorado should be able to score more goals than one, like you said. That it's a high octane offense, so they need to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season for them.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to see how well some of these teams can defend night after night. St. Louis, of course, prime example, but then Philadelphia, I think, can do it as well. And let's see how, for example, Toronto is shutting down the Ottawa that really doesn't have the firepower maybe to match with them, but if you are playing Hawaii type of hockey and giving away easy goals, it would be a long night to score 5 or 6 goals to beat your host.
Yeah, and I think in Canada you can't underestimate any of the teams. I'm sure Senators want to show Toronto that they're there for real and not just to be run over like maybe in a couple of past seasons. Senators have made some acquisitions. They do have Evgeny Dadonov, they have Derek Stepan, so they actually do have a little bit more quality maybe than last time around. So it's not an easy game for Toronto, but of course Maple Leafs, again, one of the contenders and one of the favorites. So these are the sort of games that they do need to win in order to actually compete in the Northern Division.
Yeah, and I had one further comment for last night games. I was watching the San Jose visiting Arizona, and I think we had Arizona there with some value. And when there's 2 guys against 0 in overtime, you should be celebrating. But these guys managed to somehow miss the net, and then from the shootout, San Jose took the win. So I think that was maybe the moment for bettors that made a few scratches of the head.
Yeah, you can hear the tickets ripping when that happened.
Exactly. But we don't hope that these kind of 2-0 misses happen too often, because usually the teams that attack more, they shoot more, they make more goals, and they win more games. Hockey is pretty simple game in that sense.
Yeah, that it is.
Very good. We'll follow these 5 games tonight and then continue with more games tomorrow. So tomorrow there are a few early games. Boston is visiting New Jersey or continuing the trip over there, as well as in Western US. This particular San Jose Arizona matchup is also early one, so don't sleep too long Saturday morning.
Yeah, we know we won't.